This Shabbat we read Parashat Tzav. The word Tzav is an imperative form of the word which also gives us the word mitzvah. Therefore, Tzav et Bnei Yisrael, the first phrase in our parasha, means command the Israelites or even proclaim a mitzvah to the Israelites. The Torah is full of mitzvot, but the formula Tzav et Bnei Yisrael does not appear that often. Usually it is Vayidaber Adonai et Moshe lemor. God spoke to Moses saying, why here is it command and not just say? Rashi writes, the expression tzav always implies urging, ziruz, urging one to carry out a commandment, and also implies that the commandment takes effect at once and is also binding on future generations. Rabbi Shimon said, especially must Scripture urge the fulfillment of a command in cases involving financial loss. It may be that the reason ziruz, urging, was so necessary here was because the commandment concerns the bringing of the daily sacrifices, which were to be brought twice daily for all eternity. Inasmuch as this would require the expenditure of vast sums, some hesitation might be expected. However, in the case of other mitzvot, such as the lulav, even though they require expenditure of money, it is limited. So the Torah does not use the word tzav in connection with such commandments. Thus Rashi. Rashi shows a recognition here that Jews may not always be enthusiastic to fulfill the mitzvot. Of course, here there's a rational basis for the reluctance. It's expensive. And the fact of the matter is that financial issues were often a challenge to fulfillment of mitzvot. But the halakha tried to evolve to accommodate external reality. For example, the selling of chametz before Passover was developed because of Jewish distillers and liquor merchants who found it impossible to literally dispose of their entire inventory for Passover. But of course there were limits. Late Friday night services were an American invention. In the old country, services were held Friday evening at sundown, not at 8 or 8:30 p.m. But in America in the early part of the 20th century, people had to work on Shabbat. Businesses put up signs that said, if you don't come to work on Saturday, don't come to work on Monday either. While synagogues adjusted to the fact that many or most of their members were not fully observant, no one ever explicitly said it was okay to work on Shabbat. Today, the disincentive to observe mitzvot is rarely financial. Jews in prior generations went to work on Shabbat because they really had to. There was no legal protection for religious observance, and there was a legitimate issue of survival. People felt that they were doing the wrong thing, but felt they really had no choice. Although there were people who made the sacrifice, they knowingly chose poverty in order to observe Shabbat. But today, for the most part, non-observance is through choice, not necessity. If something is a mitzvah, we can deduce two things about it. One is that we would not otherwise do it. The other is that we can do it. God doesn't waste time commanding us to do the self-evident, but neither does God command us to do the impossible. What's your reason for not observing some of the mitzvot you currently choose not to observe?